Hi, this is James Franco, and I want to wish the Teddy Award a very happy birthday.
Over the last years, James Franco starred in several gay-themed movies, like Interior Leather Bar in 2013. He played very prominently a gay or ex-gay character in I Am Michael in 2015, and he also directed a movie with a gay topic, The Feast of Stephen in 2009, for which he won the Teddy Award for the Best Short Film. Therefore, the Teddy Award did an interview with James Franco and wanted to know why he supports the depiction of gay life and gay characters in his movies.
There are many reasons I've been involved in these projects. Two others that you didn't mention were Howl, where I played the poet Allen Ginsberg, who was very vocal gay voice, and I also played the poet Hart Crane, who was a gay poet in the 30s, or in the 20s, and died in his early 30s. And sometimes I'll play a role like those poets because I'm interested in their art and their entire life, and they happen to be gay, and that's part of who they were. And so, as an actor, I take that on. So it's not as if I chose those roles just because I said, oh, I must play a gay role. Those roles were chosen because I appreciated their art. In other cases, like Interior Leather Bar or I Am Michael, the main the central themes and reasons for making those projects were centered on gay issues or queer issues. And I've found as a creative person that often these queer issues in cinema and in other outlets are great ways to explore new ground, to question how we live, to for me to question my own ways of living. That there is indeed a sort of normative way of making movies and telling stories and presenting ourselves to each other that can always use, questioning and movies that will chip away at that very solid traditional way of doing things.
Mm. Well, you said that those queer themes can also question how we live. Would you also say that it can question, identities, or, for example, also male identities?
Yeah, I mean, I'm male, so I suppose a lot of the projects that I am involved in deal with male identities. But it's not to say I'm not interested in themes and stories that involve female characters as well. But identity is one of the things I'm most interested in, and how identities are formed, and what makes us who we are, and how those identities sort of fit into the world. So the project that I won the Teddy for was a short film called The Feast of Stephen that I did when I was a student, a graduate student at NYU, and that is a movie based on a poem by Anthony Hecht called The Feast of Stephen, and I used it to really explore a lot of these themes of identity that we're talking about. You know, it's about a young man who um, has certain fantasies about, you know, some of his peers, and they punish him for it. Um, and so it really is about, you know, young desires and also sort of the dangers of letting those desires out into the world or letting those desires be known by others because um, not everybody is, you know, understanding.
Now that we're already talking about the Feast of Stephen, well, in the end of the movie, the main character actually looks into the camera and he smiles after he has been bullied. And I was wondering if that also might have been quite controversial because what we see before is quite heavy bullying. I mean, they're basically beating him up and then he smiles into the camera.
Right. Yeah, that was a complex moment. The movie, at the time, I was very inspired by the films of Kenneth Anger, especially his film Scorpio Rising, where he filmed a gang of a real biker gang in the 60s that did not identify as a gay biker gang. They I think identified as a very macho straight biker gang. But the way that Kenneth Anger filmed them transformed how they were presented. So in the film, they come off, you know, very queer. It's very homoerotic, and the camera caresses their bodies, um, and I was very inspired by the way that Kenneth Anger transformed them just by the way that he presented them. And so the final moment in my short film, The Feast of Stephen, is meant to be something in of in that order of, you know, doing a similar thing. Meaning, it's not obviously it's not a movie that condones bullying or is, you know, saying you know, maybe bullying is okay in some circumstances. I am I'm completely against bullying, but within the world of this movie, in, you know, the movie is not the real world. The movie is, you know, its own sort of artistic realm. It was a way to have him smile at the end, was sort of a way to give him that Kenneth Anger um, control or agency over these other people that had meant to do him harm.
Well, because I wasn't sure when I saw this ending if it was an act of empowerment, as you just
Yes,
described it,
exactly.
or if it was an act of masochism, because that was the other
Right.
option.
I mean, you know, I suppose, you know, I suppose um, there's a bit of both in there. But I like to lean more towards the empowerment. Not to say that if this, you know, these events were completely literal, that this would be, you know, the way that I think they should be played out. But within the sort of short poem of a film that I've done, it gives it a twist.
And you were talking about, well, the binary of being gay and being a macho and how this can be combined or not combined. Um, and, well, this is a question I sort of had when I was watching I Am Michael. Like, what society expects of gay people? What to look like, what queer people should look like. And so I was wondering, what is the connection between sexuality and masculinity in the American society and also in the depiction of both in cinema? Like, is it seen as something that cannot be combined, like masculinity and homosexuality?
It seems like that is definitely changing as more and more queer stories are told. We get more varieties of representation, and um, you no longer need to present, you know, gay characters or, characters from the LGBT community in a specific way. As we all know, there's many different kinds of personalities and within that community, and the more stories that are told about that community, the more we can see, masculine queer characters, or whatever kind of variety we might think of or find in that community. Do you want me to talk about I Am Michael? I can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I Am Michael was a very interesting film because it tapped into many topical issues of identity and choice, or it really kind of tapped into the debate about, is identity genetic, or is it choice, or a combination of these things. But it did it from the opposite direction than we normally see or we would expect in a film that was made by a gay director. So in this film, you have the character, instead of starting in the closet and coming out of the closet, you have a character who identifies as gay. Not only identifies as gay, is a huge supporter of gay rights and gay youth, and it's based on a real guy who traveled around the country and spoke to students in high schools, and just to let them know that they weren't alone, and then made this drastic change in his life, and eventually identified as straight and became a Christian minister. And like I said, the film was written and directed by Justin Kelly, who is a gay writer and director. So the film is not a pro-conversion film, but it uses this character's journey as a way to touch on these issues of identity.
Well, I also didn't read it as a pro-conversion movie. Rather I had the feeling that it was a movie about a very personal story, and you could also always see how he was fighting with himself a lot. But what I was also wondering was if there was.
What I found interesting is that it seems like most people I talk to will still question if he is gay, even though he's identifying as straight. Many people will still question, well, yeah, but he's actually gay and he's lying to himself, right? Whereas I find fewer people questioning, characters or people that come out of the closet, who sort of identify as straight when they're younger, and then when they're older, they come out and they identify as gay. I find fewer people saying, well, no, he's really straight. Like, he's lying to himself. He's not gay. I find that that we have a sort of prejudice when it comes to the order in which we sort of shift our identities.
But don't you think that also has to do with the acceptance of homosexuality and heterosexuality in the society?
Yeah, I totally agree. And so it's really just a way to sort of examine how, where we stand at the moment, and sort of general kind of views about these different identities. Yes, I'm in total agreement.
But would you say that the movie also contains criticism against the gay society? I mean, you already talked a little bit about it, that a lot of people questioned that he was straight now, and that it was rather about,
Yeah.
well, that they wouldn't accept it, that he identified himself as straight. So I wondered, is that also a way of criticizing the gay community? Of
No, no, not at all. I no, I don't follow because I'm not even I'm saying people I'm the people that are questioning I'm saying are straight people in the straight community, people in the gay community. I don't know why that would be a criticism.
No, I mean in sort of showing people their own borders in their minds. That also this
Yeah,
is a
but
possibility.
I think um, those borders are very, I think they're very general. I mean, I think those, I think it seems to kind of, I found people in both people that identify as gay and straight questioning, um, his his idea, if he is actually straight.
Okay. Well, I have another question about the Teddy Award that you won. Well, it was a few years back, and well, you're starring in big movies in Hollywood. You are world known, and I was wondering, did that actually have a significance for you to win the Teddy Award? Does the Teddy Award have, or does it get any recognition in Hollywood or in the independent movie scene in the United States?
Um, I mean, it's pretty important to a lot of people that I know. I think a couple years before I won for the short film, I think Gus Van Sant won for Milk, which was a movie I was in. Um, so, and Gus is, one of my mentors and filmmakers that I look up to. So, the fact that he had won one was very uh, important to me. And I had a student who won for his short film 2 years ago. Um, um, and I know, it was very, and he's actually from South America, but I taught him at NYU, and um, so that was it was very important to him. So I guess among the people I associate with, it's a big honor.
Best short film. Therefore, the Teddy Award did an interview with James Franco and wanted to know why he supports the depiction of gay life and gay characters in his movies.
Um, there are many reasons I've been involved in these projects. Some two others that you didn't mention were Howl, where I played the poet Allen Ginsberg, who was um, very vocal gay voice, and I also played making those projects were centered on um, gay issues or queer issues. And I've found as a creative person that often these queer issues in cinema and in other outlets are great ways to explore new ground, to question how we live, to were, and so as an actor, I take that on. So it's not as if I chose those roles just because I said, oh, I must play a gay role. Those roles were chosen because I appreciated their art. In other cases, like Interior Leather Bar or I Am Michael, um, the main, the central themes and reasons for Hi, this is James Franco, and I want to wish the Teddy Award a very happy birthday.
Over the last years, James Franco starred in several gay-themed movies, like Interior Leather Bar in 2013. He played very prominently a gay or ex-gay character in I, Michael in 2015. And he also directed a movie with a gay topic, The Feast of Stephen in 2009, for which he won the Teddy Award for the
poet Hart Crane, who was a gay poet in the 30s, or in the 20s, and died in his early 30s. And sometimes I'll play a role like those poets, because I'm interested in their art and their entire life, and they happen to be gay, and that's part of who they